Just about every day on my channel, I have a consultation that goes a little something like this. I'm ready to do it. I'm going to retire in about 2 years. I know that the sun, the moon, and the stars are lining up in Southwest Florida. And I know that I want to buy in that area. I love Florida. So I figured that since the prices are good right now, I want to take advantage of this buying season because I'm going to make the assumption that things are going to get course corrected by the time I retire. So here's what I'm looking for. 2 plus a den, 2 bath, 1 to 2 car garage. I can spend around $400,000 or $500,000. Sounds really easy, doesn't it? Here is what I want to talk to you about. When people say this, I get concerned.
So in doing that, I'm thinking that my wife and I will use the property when it's really cold up north, because you know we're from Michigan, and we're going to use it in January, February, and March, which is season. It's really cold then, and we're going to use it then, and then all those other months we would like to rent the property for income.
All right, so sounds good, right? Sounds like a plan. You buy the property and let somebody else pay for it. Sounds like a good idea. No, not always, not always. And I'm going to talk you through some things you may not have thought of. Now, you probably thought of, they're going to trash the place, I'm going to have to paint the entire thing, I'm going to have to put new carpet in, but that's okay because you're going to buy something that is kind of like Joe above average. So it's something that by the time you were going to move into it a little bit more full-time, you were going to do these upgrades anyway, and it's perfectly fine to rent. That is not what we're talking about. This is something different. So grab your coffee. We're going to talk about this. All right, so you may have watched a late night television program where somebody told you, you can buy the property and let somebody else pay for it. You get all the reward in the end. Why pay a landlord? You can buy it and you can be the landlord. Okay, so here's where it gets tricky. With those guidelines, which are very, very common things that we just mentioned about the bedrooms, the bathrooms, okay, that's very, very typical and also very, very doable. Here's where it gets challenging. I'm going to start with number 1, and I say this to people all the time. Who is your client? Is it you or is it the renter? Because what the renter wants is not necessarily what's going to be the best cash flow for you. So the renter might want a pool in the backyard, but for you, the insurance is going to be a lot higher. The renter may want a community where they can golf. They're a high-level golfer, or maybe they're a mid-grade golfer, or maybe they barely do putt-putt once a year where they live, but now all of a sudden they want to rent where they can golf every day during their vacation. That is going to increase fees for you. So you as the owner are going to pay these extra fees trying to make these renters happy. How much do they play a part in your purchase? Let's go one step further. Your wife always wanted white shaker cabinets and a great big kitchen island. Now at home, in her home in Massachusetts, she has a really tiny kitchen with Formica countertops and dark cherry wood cabinets. But now, because you're going to buy something, she has set a precedence that she wants these white shaker cabinets and this massive kitchen island that is not readily available in Florida. So what ends up happening is, who is your client? Is it the renter who could care less, or is it your wife? What can happen is there's quite a ravine between what you want and what works for a renter. I always say, if you don't like the furniture, like if you're looking for something that's turnkey because you want to go right into this rental scenario, if you're looking at something for turnkey and you're saying,
well, I don't really like the furniture. We want furniture that's better than that.
You know what? What happens if somebody's What if somebody's auntie has too many amaretto sours and she spills all over your expensive furniture that you insisted on having because that's what you've always wanted? You can end up with, once again, if you ask yourself, who is my client? Is it me or is it the renter? That's super important. The other thing is, which is kind of obvious, you told me that you want to spend the winters when it's really cold in Michigan. You want to be in Florida. Well, guess what? So does everybody else. So you took the best months and now you don't understand why you're not cash flowing. So always factor in, especially, I usually tell people at least a 10% vacancy rate, but in this season that we're having right now, this kind of like terrible market that we're experiencing, an abundance of property on the market, an abundance of rentals on the market, it's going to get a little tighter than that. I would say it's at least 20% vacancy. At least that. I would build in even higher, because the other thing you have to remember is that almost the entirety of Southwest Florida, there are a couple spots where it's allowed. So if you're looking for a VRBO, we do know of a few spots where it is allowed, but the predominance of it, like 98% of the area, you can't do a VRBO. So you can only rent according to what the guidelines are. So if the guidelines say a 60-day rental and you keep getting people that want to rent for a week or for 2 weeks, you can't do that. And you might say,
you know what, I don't care about that. I'm from New Jersey. I break all the rules.
Here's the thing. If you have a home in a community with a gate and there's a guard there, or there's not a guard there, there's a fob, they may not be able to get in the gate. They may not be able to utilize any of the amenities that they insisted on having. They may not be able to golf because you didn't transfer the membership. They may not even be able to get into the pool. So don't make the assumption you can do that. Listen, I'm not saying that there aren't people that put their properties on VRBO and everybody becomes, a cousin, because a cousin is a guest and not creating a lease, okay? I'm not saying that people don't do that. But if you do that, you are rolling the dice a little bit. And then the other biggie that people never think of, and I don't know why, but this is like super gross to me. And I know, I get it. Like when you go to a hotel, you're sleeping in somebody else's bed. I understand that. But for some reason, I don't know, this just feels gross to me. If you buy, let's say we find the perfect place. It's exactly what you want. It's exactly what your wife wants. She decorates it to a T, moving everything exactly where she wants it to be. And then you find a renter, and that renter is going to rent April and May. You luck out, they give you a good amount. They seem like very nice folks, and they're going to rent your place. Can we please keep in mind that that nice couple is sleeping in your bed, using your toilet, laying in your bathtub, doing all the things, okay? Let's just say doing all the things. I'll let you create your own checklist there. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? Maybe that doesn't bother you at all. But for me personally, I get some kind of way about that. Like, I don't know, if I set something up that I want to be 100% mine, it doesn't line up to also trying to rent it as often as possible. It just doesn't. So, and if you've rented before, I mean, come on, let's be honest. How many times have you gotten peanut butter on somebody's couch and you're like, oh, I can't get it off with some hot water. I'll just take care of that later on. You do it. And somebody is going to do that to you. And I just think, for me personally, if you can afford to do it, buy 2 things. Try to buy 2 things. If you can afford to do it. And I know somebody's out there saying, yeah, right, Barrett, buy 2 things. But if you can afford to do it, if you're going to buy a second home anyway, there's a possibility that you could afford to do it. And if not, think through these things that I'm telling you about. Anticipate that, I don't know, use a really thick mattress pad. I'm just saying, listen, I don't know. I don't know who you're renting to. So use a really thick mattress pad. Have pillows that are your pillows. Have a closet or a garage, even better, that's locked off with your personal things. One time I rented in an area of Florida in a condo because I was thinking that I wanted to buy something in this particular community. So I took my own advice and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to rent a place that is somebody's and I'll just rent there. And I could not believe that when I got there, their master bedroom closet was full of somebody's clothes, somebody's shoes. There were 2 drawers that had somebody's underwear. Listen, I'm telling you these things. I'm going through it so you don't have to. These are real things that happen. So think through that before you open your home as a rental service. Just make sure that you're comfortable with all these things I've mentioned.